Hello and welcome to Prairie Pulse. Joining us today on the show is Dave Wrighton, president of the North Coast Fest in Minot, North Dakota. David, thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I really enjoy it.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about the festival, but before we do that, tell the folks a little bit about yourself and your background.
I was born and raised in North Dakota, graduated from Minot High, went to Concordia, went to UND Law School, and practiced private practice of law for a few years, worked for state government for a few years, and then since my family, headed by Chester Wrighton, was in the TV business, he expanded his holdings to Dickinson, North Dakota in the early 80s, and I officially became a salaried employee after being in the TV business literally since I was 6 years old. So I got into the TV business. I was in Dickinson for about 4 or 5 years and came up to Minot in 1988 and ran the TV Wrighton Television with Minot, Bismarck, Williston, and Dickinson for until 2016.
Okay. Well, obviously, you've been in Minot for a long time. Mm-hmm. And what we're going to talk about is the North Coast Fest. This year, of course, is September 27th through the 30th. But let's talk about just what is the festival? What can people expect if they go there?
The main thing that they can expect is a great time. I consider the North Coast Fest the second happiest place on earth, of course, after Disneyland. It's just a lot of fun, a lot of entertainment, a lot of great people. You meet new people, you touch base again with other people that you've met in the past. My father started a way to start a conversation. You're supposed to come up to a stranger at the North Coast Fest and say hello, and where are you from? And it's an icebreaker. I mean, then people start, well, we're from Winnipeg, or we're from South Dakota, we're from Minnesota. And from then on, it's all downhill, and it's a lot of fun. So expect a great time.
Well, and this is the 40th?
This is the 40th. It started, my father started it 40 years ago, and it was basically a way to sell Norwegian products and things like that. But it was also a way to celebrate his heritage and the heritage of a lot of people from the Minot area in western North Dakota, which is his Norwegian Scandinavian heritage.
Speaking of that, y'all do something, and I'm not sure when you started it out of the 40 years. You have a Scandinavian American Hall of Fame.
It starts out, it's going to be on Tuesday the 26th, and it's held at the Grand Hotel. And over the years, we have put in people like Walter Mondale and people like that, you know, famous, that we had Clint Hill from the Kennedy Secret Service, people like that have done great things, that have Scandinavian heritage, and we want to celebrate that. And so we have this Scandinavian American Hall of Fame, and this year we have Soli Anderson, who is a Finnish book chef that has come out with many, many books, is famous throughout the cooking. And we have the Tollefson family out of Minot, North Dakota. It's a fourth generation furniture store owners and carpet owners. It was started by a grandfather that came over from Norway and built bought a furniture store in Minot, North Dakota in the early 40s. And his two sons, Orland Tollefson and Dwayne Tollefson, took it over, and they passed it on to the next generation, and now they're on their fourth generation. And they've been big supporters of Minot, of western North Dakota, and they've been really important for the success of the North Coast Fest. Orland Tollefson and Dwayne Tollefson were right there with Chester 40 years ago, coming up with the ideas. And so we're going to honor a company, a family that has 4 generations in business, proud of their Scandinavian and Norwegian heritage. And the third person is Nathan Myhrvold. He's one of Bill Gates's and Microsoft's original employees. He started he started college when he was 14 years of age, and got into computer programming and things like that. And he was one of the first employees of Microsoft, Norwegian. And now he's into cookbooks and Scandinavian food and food all over the place. He has a $650 book that you can buy with recipes and things like that. But proud of his Norwegian heritage, and worked for Microsoft. Really is no longer there, but the governor, Bergum, was instrumental because of getting in contact with him, because Great Plains Software was bought by Microsoft, and he helped us get in contact, and so the governor is going to induct him for the ceremony on Tuesday night.
Well, you've talked about, you've had many people, because I know you had Norma Zimmer, I think, and Myron Florin, and even John Idstey from NPR.
John, yes, thank you.
Your college roommate.
My college roommate.
But how do you really pick them? Because there's got to be just so many to pick from.
There are so many to pick from. A lot of them are still busy, and they have that type of, a lot of things going on. You got to start contacting them a year or two. We're always checking out, we Google every Norwegian, Scandinavian that we can, and then we start making contact with them, and some are interested and some aren't, and it's kind of funny because people don't know what to expect. If you call up somebody and we want to put you on the Scandinavian American Hall of Fame, are they saying, well, are we in the basement of the Elks, with a pool table off to the side, and you do it that way? No. This is a big event. It's a classy event. We have the Attorney General is going to be the host, so to speak. The governor's going to be there, and we've had every governor for the last 40 years that have spoken there. And it's just a lot of fun, and we honor them. And what's so nice, they're honored that we honored them. And a lot of them weren't aware of it, but they come here. They're treated very, very well, and it's a lot of fun and a lot of warm and fuzzies.
Okay. Well, you talked about how it got started. Your dad, I guess, wanted to celebrate heritage and culture. And over the years, how did it start in the early years, and how have the crowds been, and what's it grown to?
Well, the one thing that's been so good about the North Coast Fest, that's led to its success, it's just grown a little bit every year. They add something new, something different. They add more buildings, they add more acts, they add more side stages and things like that. And so they've always learned, what worked, what didn't, and then they make changes, and it's been bigger and better every year. And the only hitch in our get-along that we had was the flood in Minot in 2011. I mean, that really was a big owie for the city of Minot, the North Coast Fest, North Dakota State Fair. And so we've kind of had to build it up again over the last 4 or 5 years because, people, there just wasn't rooms and people were doing other things. But now we're back to the crowds we had 5 and 6 years ago.
Well, good. Glad to hear that. Talk some about the music acts that folks will be able to see, because I know like Celtic Thunder, of course, Prairie Public's proud to see Celtic Thunder coming.
It's kind of funny. I'll tell you a quick story. Was the reason that we've so emphasized music was for the first couple of years when they put this on, the story I like to tell, there was really, people would show up and buy their lefse and do things like that. And then my father heard that there was a guy by the name of Myron Florin that, would, for the right amount of inducement, would come and play. So he got in contact with Myron Florin's agent, and after about the second or third year of the Huzzfest, so they brought in Myron Florin. And of course, I see him every Sunday night. And my father never missed the show on the Lawrence Welk. That was his must-see TV. But anyway, so he brought in Myron Florin, and they came in from all over the place to see this man, this celebrity, this great musician. And they fell in love with Myron Florin, the audience did, and Myron Florin fell in love with the Huzzfest, and for about 20, 25 years he came back. Well, my father and the other people said, gee, maybe we should emphasize music and entertainment a little bit more, main stage acts, because they had violinists and accordions. And so they started bringing in people. There, Tom Jones, George Burns. They've had Bob Hope. Let's see, people like that. All big name acts, and it's fun to see it, and it brings in the crowd. I call it kind of a bait and switch, if you really want to know the truth, because it brings in, and then they go, oh, look at all the Scandinavian stuff. So we have those type of acts, and for example, this year we have the Oak Ridge Boys. They're coming in. We have Celtic Thunder, and thanks to all those fine viewers of Prairie Public Television that have got the Irish name out there. And then we have people like the Doobie Brothers and John Michael Montgomery, Joe Diffie. They're country western people. And Amy Grant and Jeff Dunham, the comedian that has the puppets and places like that. And then on Saturday, we have the Little River Band and Josh Turner and Gary Allen. Country, there's some, religious in there, there's comedy. There's 8 acts over 4 days. They're at 1 o'clock and 7:30. You can see it on our website. But it's great entertainment. We fill the hall. And it just becomes part and parcel of the the main draw for the Huss Fest, but they also come for the Scandinavian, things like that.
Yeah, so you said it changed over the years, but how do you attract these big acts to Minot, North Dakota?
Yeah, well, you got to prove that you can fill the halls. We're always looking at acts. We have a poll that we hand out people, what do you want to see? And it has 30, 40 names on it, and people will check it off. And then what my father did, what we try and do is the highest poll getter, that's the first person we call. And then the second highest is the second person. Well, of course, we couldn't get Frank Sinatra or Barbra Streisand or Neil Diamond, but there's a lot of people that we got that I think even people that showed up were surprised. But it's a process. People are, touring at different times, different places. Some are too expensive for what we need to put on. And it just calls out, and we probably make contact with 30, 40 over the course of a year, and we get it down to 8. Mm-hmm. And it works out real good.
Well, let's talk some about some of the other activities that people would get to see or be part of. Or can you talk about the Viking Village and what all that entails?
One of the things that we've changed, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, is being more what you call interactive. That has become the big thing because people used to just mainly watch the entertainment, eat great food, and things like that. So over the past few years, we have stuff like Viking Village. We have Viking reenactors, and we'll have 50, 60 people from literally all over the nation and places in Europe, and not necessarily Scandinavian countries. They come, they dress up, and Vikings did 1,000 years ago, and they have a Viking village that you can watch them make food, set up camp, and they'll do play, fighting, and things like that. And it gives you an idea of what the Vikings did 1,000 years ago. And you can come and you can eat some of their food and you can see how they do it. And they just love talking about it. They just ask them a question and it's 5 minutes before they catch their breath. And so that has become big. The other one is, it's in Tromsø Hall. We have what we call Samis. They used to be called Laplanders in northern part of Norway and Sweden. And they put up a village. And they're very, very closely related to the Native Americans of North America. Because if you listen to the music of the Samis, and they beat on a drum and they sing, you thought you were at a powwow in Bismarck, North Dakota, because it is so similar. And I've always been of the fact that, while the Vikings were trying to discover North America and Christopher Columbus was discovering North America, there were people, in the northern reaches of the world that were just going back and forth for thousands and thousands of years. There's a culture, such a similar culture. And it's just a lot of fun to watch. And they just love putting it in. They're bringing about 40 people, 40 Samis that they're going to bring. And they're going to show you the culture of what these call Laplanders. And it's just a lot of fun. And they just love doing it. And they take great pride in what they do.
All right. Well, what about nightly dances do you have?
You have nightly dances. The thing about the Husfest is there's entertainment all over. We have about 4 side stages. Every hour, hour and a half, there's a new act at each one of these side stages. We have Bureau Holland, Williams and Ree, people like that, Molly B. They're new acts. Their acts have been there for many years, and we try and bring in new acts. And you're always entertained. So you can go to one of they're free side stages. What sometimes we have a difficult time explaining to people is that when you pay for the main act to get into the main, everything else is included. And so they say, well, I want to go see Amy Grant. Okay, well, this is the price. Well, how much do I have to pay to get in to see the rest of the side stages and the food? No. It's all in one, and so it's a great, great deal. And you really, truly need at least 2 full days in order to take in the fun and the festival that is known as Norsk Kustfest.
And you talked about it, and you hit on it, because you got eight main acts, I guess you're going to call it, in the big arena.
Yeah.
But that's just it. You've got halls,
Yeah.
and you've got, you said, these side stages with free entertainment. And it is just amazing how much entertainment's there to take in and enjoy.
It is so much fun. And then, we have accordion players and violinists all over the place. And then, then we've added, as in regards to the interactive, we have what we call Scandinavian Youth Camp, where people bring in grade school and junior high and high school people, and they learn how to make lefse and Scandinavian songs, Scandinavian dance. They make trolls, masks, and everything like that. And then we have what that's called Husfest University, where adults, it's a quick primer and a learning on rosemalling and knitting and cooking and things like that. And adults, you sign up, it's called Husfest University, and it's interactive. I mean, somebody will teach you how to do this stuff. It'll last, a few hours, but it gives you an idea, and you can always follow up on it. And a lot of those are close to being sold out, if not sold out. So if you want to see, there's about 8 different things you can learn at the Norsk Kustfest that you've seen, but you've never really tried.
Yeah. Well, we talked a lot about the entertainment, and we mentioned food. But now let's talk about the food. I mean, that is a big part of the festival.
Big part of the festival. You'll never starve to death at the Husfest. We bring in Norwegian chefs. They're at the Scandi Kitchen, and they take so much pride in what they do. Over the last few years, many people may have noticed that Nordic restaurants have become the in thing, because it's fresh, it's clean, it's healthy. And so these chefs come in from Norway, and they cook their food, and you can get in line and eat it. And then we have what you call entree, which are other Norwegian chefs that come in, and it's a sit-down meal. It's about a 4 or 5 course meal. In the evening, it's a little different food. Then there's one in the afternoon and one in the evening, and it's all Norwegian/Scandinavian food, and it is so good and it's so healthy, and so people like that. It's a real high class place and set up, and it's just a lot of fun to see how they do it.
Well, it is, and there's a lot of good food there. Now, you mentioned a little bit about the crafts, and they can learn, but tell us some more about those activities, and they can even purchase these things.
We have a lot of things for sale there. I mean, we're looking for Scandinavian original clothing and rings and bracelets and everything like that. They can buy it there. They can see what there's going on. and it just becomes a big Scandinavian place that you can buy stuff, and it's high quality stuff, and it's just it's great clothing, and it's made a lot of times by Scandinavians, and most of it's made by Scandinavians, and they ship it over here, or they have a distributor, and you can buy that stuff, and it's really great.
Well, David, obviously with your entertainers, you're selling tickets. I mean, people are. But how are you funded? How do you?
The
Where's money come from?
vast majority is ticket sales, admissions, booth rental, booth space. We also have corporate sponsors, big ones like Touchstone and SRT. We couldn't do it without corporate sponsors. I mean, they're a big part of any festival. They're a big part of almost any entertainment, and they come. They bring dozens and dozens of volunteers. Trinity Medical Center has dozens of volunteers, and so but they give money, but mainly they give people, and we couldn't run it without people.
Now, how many volunteers do you know?
We have approximately 4,000 volunteers, and we're not kidding on that. We have 4,000 volunteers. It is just such a huge organization, and so we couldn't do it without it. And they're there to greet you and show you around and sell stuff and things like that. So it's what really truly makes the Husfest go are those volunteers.
Well, do you see that you get a lot of return visitors?
We get a lot of return visitors. Because they so enjoy it, and we're changing out the acts, and we're bringing in different stuff, and they like to come back to see the new stuff, but they also love coming back to meet the people that they met the year or the years before. A lot of times they're staying in their homes and places like that, so it really is a lot of fun when they come and see these people and renew friendships and make new ones.
Yeah. What about visitors from other countries and coming from Norway or the Scandinavian countries?
We have a Shane delegation, Telemark delegation, and one of the things we're pressing here is before the reception for the Scandinavian American Hall of Fame members, we have what's called a B2B, which is business to business. It's held on Tuesday afternoon. And this year, there's several Norwegian companies that are making drones that want to set up a shop. So we have this thing that's going to last about 4 hours in the afternoon on Tuesday, and it's going to be about drones. And it's going to be a real interesting thing. And so that has become the business-to-business aspect of it, and we've gotten great support from the Norwegians.
And of course, over the years, you've even had royalty involved.
We've had a couple princesses. In fact, we had the one princess came twice, difference of about 30 years. And then we had her daughter here about 4 or 5 years ago that had a book. And so we've had that royalty, and they're just impressed about what the Husfest is and what it represents.
Oh, it is. Now, so this is the 40th year.
Yep.
Looking into the future, what do you hope happens with the Husfest?
Well, we're going to continue to be around. We're looking for different acts, different vendors, and we're just trying to change it. So we have a little something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. So people are familiar with it, and it's going to be, we're already starting to plan for the 41st.
Hey, but David, how many staff then do you have to do this?
We have about 4 full-time staff and 4,000 volunteers. And I'm an unpaid staff member, I'll tell you that right now. So, but that's what it takes. And, there are people like WeFest that have dozens and places like that. So we have a very capable staff, and they love what they do, and they love the final result.
Well, it's amazing what you can pull off with 4 staff members. Because what is the number of attendance that you've had in the year?
We've had tens of thousands. Mm-hmm. We planned for over 50,000. Yeah. And so that's what we look for. And
Because the RVers fell off after the flood, I think.
RVers fell off and the tourists fell off after the flood. But a lot of people bring RVs. We have a great RV setup for them, and they can park their RVs and walk to the festival. They have great parking, and it's just a lot of fun.
What's the best thing about the Huss Fest?
It's a lot of fun. It's just the second happiest place on earth. And once you go, if you've never gone there, you're going to be totally happy, maybe a little bit surprised of what you come away with.
Well, if people want more information, where can they go?
www.hussfest.com or just put in North Kuss Fest, Google it, and they'll get all the information.
Thanks, David, for joining us today.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, that's all we have for Prairie Pulse this week. And as always, thanks for watching.
Funding provided by the members of Prairie Public.